two ways. I would justify compatibilism, one with my argument, and I would say that just compatibilism is also justifiable in the sense that it's the consensus in philosophy. And the reason why I think that's a justification for compatibilism is because I would say that the experts know more than laymen. I would say that we're both laymen in this context, and therefore I would say that most probably the position of compatibilism is most probably correct, given that most experts would say choose compatibilism over free will or hard determinism. So yeah, I'm just going to be defending compatibilism. Oh yeah, let me just define compatibilism real quick. So compatibilism is just the thesis that free will is compatible with determinism. So essentially, that just means that even if we're determined, I could still say that we have free will. That's my opening statement.
Okay, well, that was very brief. Okay, you
Just to be
you can
clear
start
here. Just to be clear before I keep going. Thinking you have free will is distinctly different from having free will, correct?
Yeah, I would say
Okay,
so.
good. Just to make sure we're on the same page. In that case, I can start. So, we're debating, do we have real free will as an actual free will, not just the illusion thereof? Because all of us agree that I can consider having a pizza or I can consider having a taco. Everyone agrees that you can conceive of these things. It's just vacuously true. But back to my actual opening statement. The question before us is whether human beings possess free will, whether actions in any ultimate sense are under our control. I will argue that they are not, that free will, upon examination, collapses just under the basic laws of logic. We begin with the basic principle for any proposition P. It must either be true or false. It cannot be both. It can't be neither, aka the laws of the excluded middle. We can apply this structure to the question of mental activity. For any given thought, choice, action, we can ask, is it determined or is it not determined? If it is not determined by anything, then it occurs without cause, then it is by definition random. One cannot be said to control that which is random. Randomness is by definition absence of control. If, on the other hand, any mental event is determined, then we must ask, determined by what? Either it is determined by something external to you or by something internal within your mind. If it is determined by something external, then it's quite obvious that you are not in ultimate control of it because it is outside of you. So if your actions follow necessarily from forces outside of yourself. But if it is determined by something internal, then we face the same question again. Is the internal determinant itself determined or not? If it is not random, if it is not, it is random. If it is, and thus it's not under your control. If it is determined, then its cause lies elsewhere, either in prior mental states or in external conditions. In either case, the chain of causation extends beyond your control. Some will attempt to resolve this by invoking the idea of a soul. Not sure if you will or not, but as an immaterial agent to originate our choices. But this changes nothing. Whatever the soul may be, its actions are either determined or not. If determined, the problem repeats, and its cause lies elsewhere. If it is undetermined, it is random. In both cases, control is an illusion. Therefore, we analyze the problem through physical causation and through metaphysical invention. The result is the same. Every event or thought or action is either caused and thus not free, or uncaused and thus not controlled. There is no third option, and thus, so the law of logic itself, free will cannot exist.
All right. Well, yeah, so I guess my first contention is that that argument presupposes a dichotomy, a true dichotomy. It already presupposes hard determinism, and it's basically like you think either we are determined and we don't have free will, or we are random and we don't have free will, right?
Are you saying that A and not A is not a true dichotomy?
Um, not necessarily. I'm saying that
Because
you're
determined
assuming.
and not determined is by definition a true dichotomy.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that like, you're saying you're already presupposing that your hard determinist position, because you're saying that, well, we do things for a reason, and that means that we don't have free will, essentially, right? And your other dichotomy is saying that either we don't do things for a reason and we're random, right? But I'm saying that you're presupposing, uh in a sense that like we do things for a reason. You're presupposing hard determinism already.
Like following your desires and intentions.
Yes. So like
So
think I think that argument is just like presupposing a true
so
dichotomy.
even then, if we say this is a common compatibilist rebuttal, but they often respond by saying that free will simply means according to one's own desires and intentions, even if those desires themselves are determined. But that definition only relocates the problem, it doesn't solve it. If my desires, beliefs, intentions are themselves the product of prior causes, genetic, environmental, or experiential, then I didn't choose them. That to say I am free because according to them is like saying I puppet is free because its strings move in harmony. It's the harmony changes nothing about the fact that the movement is caused. If you follow a chain of causation back far enough, you will find that an uncaused chooser only causes producing effects. Like if you're willing to go down and say a puppet on a string has free will, then you can say that, but I will never agree to it.
Um, well, so I would say that like, um, yeah, I would say that we're determined. I would agree with that, sure, but I'm gonna be defending compatibilism. So I'm gonna be saying that even though we're determined, we can still say that through logical reasoning, we could still say that we're free in a way that at least we have more responsibility, right?
Now you're talking about morality. And
What
then
what?
and then again, even if I were to grant this, that you have responsibility, that any responsibility you have or others impose upon you is entirely worthless because whatever you do and their actions in response to what you do is itself determined under that presupposition.
Right, but again, like I'm just gonna defend compatibilism. So even if we're determined, we can still be said to have free will. So
That's
uh,
literally the opposite of what that statement
but
means.
let's just agree on that
Even
definition.
if we don't have free will, we have free will. What?
Yes, so see right there, you're presupposing that we're us being determined is a kind of hard determinism, right? You're presupposing that you're already presupposing your position there.
No, I defended my position.
No, like you're saying that we're determined, therefore we don't have free will. That's already
I
presupposing hard.
never once said we were determined.
Uh, when no, so you did mention that if we don't have free will, we don't have free will, right? That's you implying that.
No, that's what you said. You said even if we are determined, we have free will, and I said that's incoherent.
How? Because like that would like because you're implying that uh you're basically implying in your position that we are hard determined.
Okay, let's scroll this back like 50 million years. If what do you think determined means, that word?
It means that we're ooh, what's a good definition? So it means that like we're caused to do things in a way that uh is inevitable, I would say.
Inevitable?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say if I let go of my pencil and it falls, it is determined to fall due to the fact that I let it go, correct?
Yeah, sure.
It's just cause and effect, right?
Right.
So if everything follows cause and effect, which you said they might, where does
Yes.
the free part come in?
So it's like so
I'm
I'm
not
just gonna
talking about responsibility, I'm talking about actual choice.
no, that's fine. I'm just gonna give you a definition of fuel so we can agree on it real quick. So, would you agree with this definition of free will in the side chat? An agent has free will if they could have chosen otherwise.
Basically, if given the exact same circumstance, let's say we have a time travel device, we go back, same person, no new knowledge, exact same circumstances, they can choose either A or B, and they do it differently every other time.
Right. So you would agree with that? Like, someone has free will.
Is my rephrasing correct?
No, I asked the question.
Yeah, I'm trying to rephrase it to see if I understood your point.
All right. So can you just repeat it?
Okay. So take Stephanie. She very often chooses ballet over breakdancing. But if you go back 10 years, she will choose the other one rather than ballet.
If you go back 10 years, then she would choose.
Or will she always choose ballet?
Yeah. So no, I don't agree with that definition.
Because if she always chooses ballet, then your definition doesn't work. Because she, in fact, always chose the same thing.
Let me just clarify. So you're saying that like we have free will if we reverse time, then we do something differently. Is that your definition?
No, you don't have to choose everything differently, but you have the option to. But if you play the same situation out an infinite amount of times, if you in fact never choose differently, then that is exactly the same as never being able to.
So I would disagree with that definition because even if the past was fixed, what matters when it comes to determinism is the future. We're talking about whether or not if causality determines that we do some action in a way that it's inevitable, would we be able to do it differently in the future? So even if the past was fixed, I don't necessarily think that affect the free will debate in the context of determinism. So even if I go back in the past and I couldn't do something differently, then whatever in whatever context, I don't necessarily think that affect determinism because it's talking about the future.
I don't think you actually quite understood exactly what I said. So given in your definition here, the one that you provided in the side chat,
right?
That she is able to choose otherwise, or at the very minimum, she's able to not choose or act as she does or did,
Right?
in the sense that she is the source of action. This is the exact same definition that I used in my ballet and breakdancing example. You take Stephanie, move her back 10 years to before she chose. Nothing has changed. So everything is the same circumstances as the definition required. Is she able to choose differently in the same event?
Let me just make a small correction, right? The definition isn't in past tense, it's in present tense. So it's not really talking about the past.
No, able to choose otherwise implies past tense. You can't choose otherwise than you haven't done. That's not how that sentence works.
But no, it's talking about in present tense. It's saying that up to her in a sense that she is able to choose otherwise, or at minimum that she's able not to choose or act as she does, not as she did.
Either way, it doesn't change the question.
So let me
if
just
what she does choose is entirely determined by prior events, just like the go back in time 10 years, if she always would choose A over B, then she could never choose B if played out an infinite amount of times. If the second you add infinity in theory, if B can never happen, then B is impossible. And thus A is definite, determined.
Right.
And thus you never had a true choice to choose B.
But so like again, so we're just talking about either the present or the future, not the past. The past could remain fixed. It wouldn't affect whether or not compatibilism is true, because the determinism is just talking about whether or not we could do otherwise in the future or the present.
You do realize this doesn't change anything that I said, right?
I mean, you're just repeating yourself. So you're just saying that.
What is the physical difference between the past and the future?
What? So the past is just going to be something that we did, and if you're like an atheist, you would say that the past doesn't really exist, or it can't exist, and the future is something that we're going to do or hasn't yet arrived but is going to arrive. And if you're also an atheist, you're going to say that the present doesn't exist. The present, I mean, not the present, the future doesn't exist. Now, the present is, if you're an atheist, the only thing that exists, right?
Sure.
So that's the difference.
let's presuppose everything you said is right, even though it doesn't actually affect anything. So let's say all of that is true, 100%. But as you also said before, what happened in the past is determined, correct?
Sure.
By prior events. You said this
Mhm.
yourself. What is the difference between what is determining the determined past and what determines the future? Because we already agree cause and effect and chain reactions happen.
Wait, can you just repeat that again?
What is the difference between what determines the determined past, as we agreed to earlier, and what determines the future? Because we already said that Stephanie, going back 10 years,
Oh,
can't choose breakdancing over ballet. What is the difference if we go forward 10 years?
uh, so the difference. So I would agree that like in both cases, the past determines either the future or the past, but like the difference there is going to be the past and the future, which I've already presented the difference between the two. So the past is just going to be something that has already happened, and the future is going to be something that will happen.
Well, yes, I agree. One is at 2005, one is at 2015. I'm not sure how that affects at all what I asked you.
Which so just to be clear, like, can you just clarify, because I'm not too sure we're progressing here.
So the question is 10 years ago, Stephanie could not choose breakdancing over ballet. That this event is determined due to prior causes, correct?
Right.
So what is the difference between this event that took place 10 years ago compared to, let's say, 5 hours from today? Can Stephanie, due to all of the prior shit, circumstances, and strings attached, say, nah, not doing ballet anymore? Or is that
Like,
also up to the strings attached, aka cause and effect, that we agreed to prior?
I would say that it's based on the strings attached, and in this context, I guess you refer to the determiner. So yeah, it would be up to the determiner. Sure, I could agree on that.
So you have already agreed that there is no free will.
No, so see,
It
that's where like you're presupposing your position again, right? So
No, you just
me-
said that
I'm
whatever
just
happens 5 hours from now is also determined. I'm not sure where free will comes in at all.
so the free will. Let me just real quick post my
No,
definition.
you already agreed to causality. You agreed to chain reactions. You agreed that 10 years ago it is determined. And you agreed that 5 hours from now it is also determined. And you even quoted the SCP, of which I used to also argue against you.
Well, no, I didn't even present an argument in favor of my position yet. So, uh, I'm just entertaining your definition of free will, and I'm just giving you a slight correction of why I don't agree with your understanding of free will, right? But I haven't really presented my argument. Um, we could get into that if you want to hear my first premise.
Can you actually answer what I asked you then?
I did answer it. I
What
mean,
is free? What?
sure. So
So
here's what happened, right? So you asked me if in the past there's this uh character that could have chosen otherwise. Uh, if she could have chosen otherwise, and if she was determined to, could she have chosen otherwise? I agree that she is determined to, but I disagree that uh even if the past was fixed in such a way that like she couldn't have chosen otherwise than what she had chosen to do. uh I disagree with that leading to a conclusion of like determinism, right? Because determinism is only referencing the future and the present, right? Now I could grant that we are determined in the future or the present, but again, like you're essentially saying that uh me granting that is already me conceding that we have free will. When I'm saying that, well, no, you're just presupposing your uh your position, which is hard determinism, right? I'm a compatibilist. I haven't really gotten into why compatibilism is true yet. So that's essentially what happened so far.
I mean, first off, you were supposed to present your argument in the opening statement, not just say, "Hi, I'm debating this."
I mean,
Secondly,
I, I
secondly, you agree in three different sentences. You said you agree the past is determined, you agree the present is determined, and you also agree that the future is determined. all of which are mutually exclusive from the idea of free will being a thing. Because if everything is determined, of which you essentially just said, then there ain't no room for choice if everything is determined.
Well, so if the past is determined, that doesn't necessarily mean we have free will. Or even if you could grant if you could grant an argument for hard determinism in the past, that doesn't necessarily affect whether or not we have free will, because the free will is talking about the present or the future.
Sure,
right?
but I gave you the example about the 5 hours in the future, and you agreed that was also determined.
Sure. And that's when I said that no, it's you're just presupposing your position, which is hard determinism.
No, I asked you, and you said it is determined. I didn't presuppose shit.
No. Yeah. There's a difference between determinism and hard determinism. Do you understand that?
Educate me. Go on.
So hard determinism is just determinism in a way that we don't have free will. Determinism is just determinism where it's compatible with free will.
So, and then once you add in, as I said earlier, infinity into a philosophical argument, if
What?
at no point ever played an infinite amount of times you could ever choose A over B, then A is in fact impossible.
Sure. Like
Which,
if I
if you have agreed to this, A being in fact impossible to be chosen over B, then you can never reach A, thus you are ultimately determined to choose B, and then B is the only choice you have, which means if you have a choice of one, you don't have choice.
Well, it depends on what you mean by could have done otherwise.
I just presented it. You have A or B. If infinite amount of times plays, you never choose A. You cannot choose A.
Well, so I would say that like if like let's say that we have a character, and then like you know they chose like they had an option between A and B. I would say that like if they don't choose B, then yeah they would if they don't choose B and only A, throughout like the entire time, like throughout the entire infinite repetitive loophole or whatever time, right? I would say that yeah, it would be impossible for them to choose B, but I would say that if they choose B, then they can choose B, right? So it depends on how you define could or possibility here.
The ability to.
Right, but like under what condition? Like if this character
Under
chooses
the exact same conditions, played a million infinity times, if one option is never chosen, then that option is impossible. And aka not an option at all.
no, but I'm talking about like if so like because if if we have two options A and B, the person only chooses A the entire time, then yes, it would be like impossible for them to choose B, right? But like if we switch the conditions where they do choose B, I would say that under certain conditions they would be able to choose B. That's just yeah. So like it
Then
depends on
how
like
come you agreed to my Stephanie example of both past, future, and present?
I agreed.
You said in all of them she could not choose otherwise.
Yeah, because like again, the way you're using could have is weird here because I define could have done otherwise as if she chose to do if she chose to do X, would she be able to have successfully done X? If she could have, then yes, that's how I define could have done otherwise. But like, if you're just talking about logical possibility or like physical possibilities, then especially physical possibilities, then no.
Wait, so she could have in words, but not in physical reality. So you say that physical reality don't have free will then?
Well, it's more like specifically a counterfactual universe. So like if we take this exact universe, but uh have another universe, and like make her in such a way that she chose to do B, that if she successfully does choose to do B, then she could have done B.
Well, duh. If I can lift a pen, I can lift a pen.
No. So there's a difference between acting on your choices and choosing to do something.
No, what you just said is literally if she succeeds in choosing B, she succeeds in choosing B, which is like if I choose to lift my pen over my mouse, I have succeeded in lifting my pen over my mouse.
Well, so let me just rephrase it then. So if
That's
she
just a nothing burger.
if she chooses B and does successfully get B, then I would say she's able to do B.
What does that sentence even mean?
Let me just like, are you fine with me putting it in like a syllogism for you?
I would rather you explain it.
But like, would you, because like the syllogism is more simpler. So
I
let
mean,
me
you can
just go
go
like,
premise, but if you would rather, you can go premise by premise. If you want, I can provide you mine premise by premise.
no, I'm just gonna go with my argument. By the way, I'm sick, so if I sound weird,
No, it's fine.
but like, in the side chat is my argument. So premise one, an agent has free will if and only if for at least some actions they perform they could have done otherwise.
Which we already agreed they can't. So the rest of the argument is meaningless because you already conceded P1.
No, so it's just, again, like this is the definition, right? Like,
That's your premise, not a definition.
no, I'm saying that like this is a conditional. Like I'm not saying they could have done otherwise. This is a conditional. So I'm saying an agent has free will if and only if for at least some actions they perform they could have done otherwise. I'm not saying
Yeah,
they could have done
but the
otherwise.
second part of this, you've already agreed isn't real.
No, no, again, like let's just go step by step, right? Let's just start with premise one first, right? So like just address premise one. Like, do you agree with premise one?
Sure.
All right. So premise two is an agent who would have done otherwise had they chosen to could have done otherwise.
Huh? Say it one more time.
An agent who would have done otherwise had they chosen to could have done otherwise.
It's not how the word would have works in this case. Would have already implies will. Like if you would have taken red wine over white wine, then you would have taken red wine.
No, so like would in this sense is just referring to a counterfactual, conditional. So it's not like it's not like a future thing. It's just like a counterfactual, conditional.
You're gonna have to provide an example.
So like if I say uh if I say if I was a an elephant, I would have been gray or something like that. It's not saying in the future I will be gray. It's just saying if things would have been differently, I would have been gray. Right? It's not talking about the future.
Okay, so yes, I can vacuously just agree that if you change the circumstances, then the circumstances change.
It's not like
If you were an elephant rather than Andrew, you would have been gray, sure.
but it's more informative than that. The way you paraphrased it is as if it's like as if it's not informative. Like premise two is not like a tautology or something. It's actually informative. So it's
The
saying,
example you gave with the elephant is exactly what I gave back to you.
but your paraphrased version is just not informative.
You said if you were to be an elephant, you would have been gray, and I say, duh.
Right? But like, it's not like if P then P, right? It's like if P then Q. But anyways, so do you agree with P2?
In the example you gave, sure. If you change a person, you change a person.
Right. Now, there are some actions that we would have done otherwise had we chosen to. Do you agree with that?
No, because that presupposes free will.
How?
Because it implies you have a choice already.
No, no. So it's saying there are some actions that we would have done had we chosen to. It's like it's another conditional essentially. It's not saying that.
Okay. So okay, let's do this a bit further then. Are you a slave to your intentions and desires?
What? Am I a
Oh, yes.
slave?
Yeah.
So
Can you only do that which you desire and intend?
uh, I'm agnostic on that. Like I'm not.
That
I
is
mean,
entirely crucial to your premise. If you can't answer that question, your premise is worthless.
How? Why can't I just be agnostic on it?
Because then your premise doesn't mean anything.
What? How? Like, are you assuming like a true dichotomy? If I can't answer this question,
Yeah.
then my premise fails.
Yes.
Can you just connect how that would work? How is that a true dichotomy?
Because if you are truly a slave to your desires or intents, then there is no such action you would ever take that is different than what you already did. Because you desired one outcome in the first place, thus followed your desires, and thus had an outcome. And there is no point where this would change just by simply doing it again, without adding future knowledge.
All right, so you're telling me that. So you're asking me if I could do anything other than what I desire. Essentially, is that a question?
Basically. Yep.
Um. Ooh, I would have to do some research on that. I'm not too. I'm not like a neurologist, but
Don't have to be.
uh, I'm pretty sure there are contexts in which you do things other than what you desire to do.
No, it just means that you desire something else more. For example, I would rather not choose myself in the foot, but I would rather choose myself in the foot than shoot myself in the head. I don't want to do either, but I'm going to do one more than the other.
Oh, right. So like, sure, but like, so this actually plays into compatibilism because um, you're talking about like second order volitions and second order desires. Um, what this does is like there's like a theory about compatibilism that actually uses that as evidence for free will in kind of like a degree sense. So we might not have absolute free will, but we would have free will in degrees. So if I could desire, if I could like act on my actions that are like second ordered desired, then I would have some degree of free will over my first order desire. So like even if we accept like uh your like whatever you're trying to lay here, like it would still follow that we at least do have some degrees of free will.
So you're saying that in a compatibilist view, you think that free will simply means acting in according to your own desires and intentions?
It would be acted in accordance to your higher order desires.
So let's say I prefer not shooting myself in the foot over shooting myself in the foot, even though those desires themselves may be determined, this vacuous emptiness is free will.
Well, let me just make it more simple. So it just means that like you have like so you have basic desires about things all the time, right? So you have desire to
Like
eat,
survival.
right? Like survival, right? You have a desire to survival. Now a second order desire is just going to be a desire about your desire. So like if I wish that I didn't desire to survive, and if I could act on that desire, then
Then you would be dead.
what that theory of compatibilism says is that that would be a degree of free will.
And if neither of these two levels of desire are free, aka they are determined, how are they free? Following a hierarchy ain't freedom.
Well, so it would be like freedom in degrees. It's not going to be like an absolute freedom.
Okay, how do
So
you
like
get
the more,
freedom above zero?
I mean, like I guess your second order desires. Like I'm not too.
Okay,
What?
so you can either, here's just an hypothetical, you can either shoot yourself in the foot, or fuck a dog, or live happy ever after. You're
Right.
probably gonna choose the last option, and I would say that ain't a free choice because there is no fucking way you would choose the other ones.
Well, uh, so it like yeah, you're like I do desire to live happily ever after, but like say for example, if I had a desire about that desire, um, if I wished that I didn't want to live a happily ever life after, and I acted on that, like so for example, if I fucked a dog instead, right? Um,
Hmm?
and acted on that second higher desire, that would be a degree of freedom.
So that would simply mean that your desire to fuck dogs is higher than your desire to live happily ever after. Not that you choose your desire.
Yeah, so it would be like me. It would be me going beyond one of my desires, and the more desires, like the higher
Okay.
the higher the
You skipped
hierarchy.
what I said again. Do you think you choose your desires?
Do I choose my desires? No, I would be agnostic on that.
How can you be agnostic on that when that's basically the topic of your entire argument?
Because higher order desires are just.
Do you choose lower, higher, medium, in between, god tier desires? Any type of desire at all?
I would. I
None.
would
Any.
say
Even one.
yes. Technically, sure. Yes, we do choose
Name
them.
one.
Like if so, say for example, like I have a desire right now to take a shit, but I am choosing to not desire to take that shit.
You're not choosing to not desire it. You're simply just desiring to stay here in a formal debate rather than, quote, possibly embarrass yourself by dodging a debate. It's
What?
about self-percent. It's like it's your own desire to preserve your own self-image or self-interest rather than taking 5 minutes to go shit while I talk.
Well, yeah. So what that does, like what that means is that even
And
if
that
it's like
also, as you agreed to before, ain't a choice you made. You didn't play, like, even if I were to grant that you can pick your desires, you already conceded you don't pick their elevation.
Well, let me just like I could completely wait, I could completely grant everything you just said, and it wouldn't really affect my position, right? So, yeah,
If you did that, you already forfeited, because I said that your position is wrong, and you said if you agree, then it's wrong. I was like, bruh.
no. So so obviously, I'm just referring to like anything but you saying that my position is wrong, right? So I'm saying that like if I could desire something, and it could be a higher order desire, or it could be like just my another desire being stronger. That wouldn't really affect my position, because that theory of compatibilism was saying is that freedom is in degrees, not necessarily that we have absolute freedom, right? So if for example, if I can't act besides my first order desire, then but if I could act on my second order desire, I would say that I have more freedom than I would have if I just acted on my first order desire.
Okay, so let's simplify. I'm gonna condense your entire point in 30 seconds and debunk it, and let's see if I get it right. The chat can decide. Compatibilists, in this case Andrew, often respond that free will simply means acting according to your own desires, intentions, even if they are determined. They might happen to be in different orders, but that's ultimately irrelevant. But that only just relocates the problem, doesn't solve it. If my desires, beliefs, intentions, hierarchies themselves are prior causes, whether they are genetic, environmental, experiential, and you didn't choose them, to say I am free because I act according to them is like saying a puppet master and a puppet. Actually, no, scratch the puppet master. Just simply a puppet is free because its strings are moving in a harmonic way, aka the hierarchy of desires. The harmony of this changes absolutely nothing about the fact that the movement, the strings, is caused. If you follow the chain of causation back far enough, you will never find an uncaused chooser, just only causes producing effects. And you don't have free will in that either, just a puppet with strings.
Sure. Sure. I mean, so look, I mean, so I could.
So you agree you are a puppet with strings?
Absolutely, I've agreed with that from the start. I'm just saying that it
Then
wouldn't
how
really,
the crap does a puppet with strings have free will?
because compatibilism.
You can't just say
Compatibilism.
because and then imagine that does something.
No, so
You can't just say I believe I have free will, therefore I do, and say aha, I'm a compatibilist. You got to actually defend being a compatibilist. When
well,
you
so
already
I've
agreed to
defended.
everything I just said, and the fact that you're a puppet on a string, I'm not sure what you mean.
So I've defended it in two different ways, right? I pointed to one, one justification for compatibilism is that most experts accept compatibilism over the other
Appeal to
options.
authority.
No, that's not what appealing to authority is. Appealing to authority
Saying
is
it's a
only.
justification that the experts believe it is an appeal to authority.
No, you only appeal to authority if the authority is not a relevant or real authority in the context.
No, that would be an appeal to false authority.
No, so all you're doing is just a
There's a
normal
difference
authority.
between appeal to false authority and simple appeal to authority. It might be the correct authority on the issue, but the fact that the authority on the issue is saying a certain thing, let's say Donald Trump doesn't make something true because he said it, but because he's the president, even though he might have authority over the subject.
Well, so like no, so like that would be right there. That would be like appealing to a negative authority because Donald Trump isn't going to be relevant in that context. But
Okay,
like,
let's do Bill Nye the Science Guy, so like a chemist, right? Just because he says if you mix iron and water, you get fucking salt water, that doesn't make it true. You have to explain how that's true separate from his statement. Otherwise, it's an appeal to authority.
so it wouldn't right. So Bill Nye saying X, therefore X is true, is fallacious, right?
And
But
that's what you said.
Bill Nye, no. So Bill Nye saying X is true. Premise two, Bill Nye is most probably right about uh is most probably right about that topic than you. Therefore, Bill Nye is probably right is justified, right? There's a
No,
difference.
because that's just a genetic offense instead. It's like, oh, he has a credential, therefore he's right. That doesn't mean shit. You can have toddlers educating teachers all the damn time. You haven't been to school?
What?
Like in school, it's like say 6th grade. I've taught my teacher a bunch of shit.
Okay, like so.
Just because they have a degree don't really mean anything. Either they're right or they're wrong, and that's just the end of it. Their credentials, identity, genetics, biology, degrees, masters, PhDs don't mean shit if they're wrong.
So again, like, let me just again, like, so would you agree that uh a physicist is more likely to know more about physics than a layman? It's very
Generally
simple.
speaking, they're probably more informed.
Right. So you would say that, like, in the context of physics, they would know more than like a random Joe on the street, right? Like, more likely.
Generally speaking, sure. That doesn't mean they are right, though.
Right. So I'm not saying they're right. I'm saying that they're most probably right. That's all I'm saying. That's
No.
you would
That's
disagree.
how no. No. Because in society we appeal to this, but in a debate setting you don't. Because this just comes back to a combination of an appeal to authority with appeal to populum.
Oh my God. Well,
Just
so let me just get the definition. Let me just get the definition quick. So let me just, because like people usually have this Wikipedia definition of appealing to authority, and it's
say that
it's very
again.
rare.
You cut out a lot.
I'm saying that you're get your definition from Wikipedia
Wikipedia about what?
about the appeal to authority,
Yeah,
and it's
there are
just
different kinds of appeals to authority. One that is either a true authority, is true because Bill Nye said it, or appeal to Donald Trump. Donald Trump says water is toxic. It's the wrong guy, but he is an authority, aka false authority.
right. But like there are actual formal definitions of appeal to authority, right?
Yeah, I know. I've read them.
But like let me just show you real quick um what a peer-reviewed source would say appeal to authority is.
You mean
Uh,
Wikipedia?
Wikipedia is not peer-reviewed, bro.
Yeah, you can say that.
Uh,
I mean, you're better off googling like identify my fallacy.
no, let me just hold on. This is actually uh, so this is from like a SEP, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which is like from the Stanford Institution University. And here they say that appealing to authority is fundamentally accepted as evidence for a proposition, the pronouncement of someone who is taken to be an authority, but is either not an authority or a relevant authority.
So
So you can't just say I'm appealing to authority as soon as I appeal to some expert. Like that alone would not be
No.
appealing to authority.
So here's the thing: you can quote an infinite amount of people. You can quote God. I don't really care. As so long. Okay, actually, God is a bad example. If God said water is toxic, then water is by definition toxic because he could just make that be the case. But that's separate because every other goddamn person on the planet doesn't work that way. Because a person said it is entirely irrelevant to whether or not the point is true. And you quoting people won't ever change that. So if you want to defend a position, you have to actually do the legwork, not just said, dude over there said it, even though dude over there is really great, like Einstein.
Well, let me just tell you the problem with your interpretation of appealing to authority, right? So that interpretation is
Is it
actually
relevant to the
something.
debate?
No, it's going to be absolutely relevant, right? So
Okay.
if I take your definition of appealing to authority, that undermines everything you just said to me until now, right? Because you're an authority to your argument, right? And if I was to,
I'm not appealing to
all
anyone else. Except
right,
for like the field of philosophy, but that's not really up to any individual.
so are you not like when you make words, are you not appealing to a dictionary or like how people use the word?
No, I'm just saying things and hoping that you understand the concept of them, and if you don't, you'll ask me.
Uh,
And then we
so
either agree or disagree on the concept. Like if I say hello and I ask you what you think that means, you would probably say something that is a greeting.
right, right. So like
I don't
when you
care
say
what the
hello,
actual like. If I say Bobby Dobby Dob and I define this as chair, you can now also say Bobby Dobby Dob, and I know that means chair. The actual appeal to dictionary is a separate fallacy, and I do not give a shit what the dictionary says as long as my point comes across.
right, but like the point I'm trying to make is that you're like the prerequisite is going to be you having this conception of hello when you say hello to me, um, based on how people use it or how the dictionary uses it. That's a prerequisite.
No, as I just explained, I can say obidobidob and say that means blah blah blah, and blah 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 means chair. This chain of these three things, if you understand any one of them, you'll understand the concept I'm conveying. And this is entirely irrelevant to the concept of free will.
Right. I think that we're getting off topic, but like, anyways, so like, I would say that, uh, I would say that like, I think that you really do agree with like my position here because I think that no one would disagree with like an expert knowing more than like a random, right? And if that's the case, then uh, it would just imply that obviously like an expert is going to be more likely to know more about the field he's expertised in than a random. Like it's just going to be it's just going to be something that follows, right? Um, and it seems make it a case of like the Hercules turtle, like you're accepting the premises but like not accepting the conclusion.
So just take this back again. Would you say that before it's completely justified for everyone to think that the Earth is flat?
Uh, sh- sure. I would say yeah, sure. They're justified
Because
because the experts held that the Earth was flat before.
so, and we can also take this even further back then. Everyone is justified in thinking God exists, right?
I'm not really
Because
too
the
sure.
quote experts, aka priest, think so.
So I would like I'm not too sure if I want to call them experts, but like if you
Okay, who is a theistic expert if not a priest?
okay, sure,
Or the
whatever.
Pope?
But like I would say that
So, therefore, you should accept that God exists, yeah?
no. So an expert, like I wouldn't say they're an expert in like whether or
They've
not God
studied their
exists.
entire lives. They're like,
So
never
so
done anything
whether
better.
whether or not something exists is entirely up to science, right? Not priest. That's like a metaphysical issue. So it's up to
So,
philosophy.
just like free will.
Yes. Free will also.
So now we have tossed out our appeal to authority because we don't do the same thing for priests and other metaphysical issues. So back to the point, we don't care at all what experts say unless you can present their argument in a way that works.
Wait, what? No, I completely agree with you that like just
Great.
saying wait no let me just I completely agree with you. Just saying that an expert says why, therefore why, is just fallacious, right? When someone says that an expert knows why, an expert is more likely to know more about you, therefore an expert is most likely to be more right than you about that, then that's just completely justified, right? And like again, I'm just
Are
supplementing the
you doing the same thing for priests? If not, then it's completely wrong in this situation.
they are not experts when it comes to metaphysical issues
How are they not? They've studied the one issue for their entire lives.
because they're reading books, bro. Like they're reading fiction, not reality.
What do you think
So
philosophy majors are when they're talking about like free will?
uh
They're thinking and reading books. Same thing as priests.
yeah, but they're reading on like metaphysical issues. They're thinking
So you're
about
just doing the genetic fallacy of which book you prefer.
no. Like they're reasoning about metaphysical issues. That's their expertise, right? They're reasoning. They're not just saying, "Hey, this book says this, therefore it's, you know, therefore God exists," right? They're not saying that. They're
No.
actually
Have you
reasoning.
never seen how massive the fucking like theistic debates are within even the same sect? They don't
No,
just say this thing is there because it's there. This is
sure.
why we have Catholicism, Protestantism, and Orthodoxy. These things used to be the same, but due to debates, they split.
So, all right, what, I could grant that. Yeah, sure. Like a priest would be, you know, like
An expert on a very specific metaphysical issue. So
sure,
therefore,
a
you should
specific
follow
one.
him and say God exists, but you might not be able to conclude which one.
No, like so, I would follow a priest when it comes to uh, like me trying to know the lore of the historical facts when it comes to
The
religion.
law? I would talk to a lawyer.
No, not the law. I meant the lore, the lore of the
The
Bible.
lore. So,
Yes.
so if I want to know the lore, I talk to a historian. But if you want to talk to a priest, you do that.
Yes. You could talk to a priest about that as well.
You think you get better answers for a priest or a historian?
A priest, because a priest just reads the Bible and he
You know that there is a lot
like
of books outside of, let's say, the Bible that provides context. So if you read only one book, let's say Peppa Pig, you'll know a lot of shit about Peppa Pig the character, but you won't know shit about the author.
right, and that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. So like a priest is just going to know what's in the book, but he's not going to know the origin of the book, right? So like whether or not God exists is not like it's not his expertise because his expertise is what's in the book.
Theology. The
Right,
entire
theology.
point is entirely
But
moot because either way,
like
even if I say that experts are usually more right than laymen, first off, they aren't always. They are always dissidents in the scientific community, and they are usually the ones who turn the tide. And even if we do something along those lines, that don't mean shit. It ain't true because they said it, and we shouldn't use them saying it as an argument. If you want to make an argument for free will, you have to do the legwork. You saying, well, Steve said it, or a lot of Steve said it, quite frankly, I don't care.
well, so it's like sure. I mean, you could not care, but like it still remain like that's a point of like an objective fact, right? Like you could not care and it would still remain factual, right? So like
Yeah,
even
that
if
they think it, not that it's true. I can
no,
concede that they think it, and then I'll just shrug my shoulders and say, yeah, they think it just like Christians believe in God, and Muslims believe in their God, and Mormons believe in their God, and they all believe it. There are more people that are theists than non theists, and because they believe it, therefore it's true. Most people believe it. It's just a massive roundabout ad populum.
right. Um, but
I
like
concede that they believe it. Now actually provide an argument.
sure, and therefore they're most probably right. Uh,
Make that argument.
I already did. So an expert is gonna like an expert about philosophy is going to know most likely going to know more about philosophy than you. An expert said that most experts believe in compatibilism, therefore compatibilism is most likely to be right. That's the argument. Like whether or not you accept that is just irrelevant. It's an objective fact, right? So we could just move on to my another
Do you have the
argument.
statistics to look at that one?
Well, you're asking me for the survey.
Do you
I
have
got it.
an actual statistic of that being the case? It's not entirely relevant, but just for funnies, let's just look at the actual makeup of that. Doesn't really matter. But even if it is true, again, people believing it don't make it true. Just like in the scientific community, the dissidents, aka the people who don't agree, let's say when everyone thought that the Earth was flat, the dissidents made more scientific progress, figured out it's actually not flat, and yeah, the dissidents are the ones you should look out for, and that's why what the majority says is entirely irrelevant, because, well, they could be wrong, and quite often are. In fact, I would go so far as to say, like, 99% of everything we know so far is wrong. It
Oh
will
my.
eventually be more correct.
So so you're so this is interesting, right? So would you say that like you do realize that you're if I could grant that like 99% of things that we know so far is wrong, um you know that we don't have free will, therefore I could say that you're most likely wrong. Like you do realize that if by you saying that 99% of things that we know is most likely wrong, you undermine your entire position. Because if you actually know
Not
that your
really.
position, I mean, you're most likely to be wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah, me saying that is also determined in my worldview.
So
Me
you would
saying it
accept.
don't mean anything.
So is it wrong? Like what you said earlier is wrong.
That's not what I said. And again, you're here to present an argument for why it's true, not just these people believe it and I like them.
All right. I mean, I already presented my argument.
You haven't. You've said people believe it.
No, like that.
The majority of people, theist, expert, and not, are theists. So you should be a theist.
So
Hell,
that is
technically, you should probably even be a polytheist.
no. So like most philosophers are atheists actually. But like that by itself, like the consensus thing is just like a supplementary evidence. It's just there to complement my argument. But
I'm waiting
nonetheless,
for an argument beyond just these people believe it.
I did jump the argument in the side chat earlier. But I'm just gonna jump it again if you want.
We already talked
You
about
know,
it and we agreed that it's meaningless because you think everyone is just a puppet on a string. How is that free will, Daniel?
I don't know, man. Maybe the strings are free.
but let me just let's just move on
We
to
agree
the
they aren't.
we could just move on to the anti uh the what is it called?
Mike Humer just said that most philosophers of religion are theists. So that's interesting. Well, there you go. You should be a theist.
Yeah, we could move on to wait, what? What did he say? Most philosophers of religion are theists, but like again, like that doesn't matter.
So the philosophers of the specific topic, let's say quantum engineers or quantum physicists, don't know the most about quantum physics, but
Well, so yeah, they're gonna be expertized in the context of religion, but you would need more than that expertise, right? You would need to know about metaphysics, like philosophers of metaphysics, philosophers of logic. You need philosophers of all these different varieties of fields, and then you would need all of their opinion in just one.
wait, you
In
need
one.
their opinion?
Sure.
I would rather need the facts.
Well, like I mean, an opinion
Opinion
can
ain't
be
fact.
no, an opinion can be compatible with a fact, right?
They can coincide, but they ain't the same.
So it would only be not a fact if that fact depended on my opinion. But if I have an opinion about something that is true, then it's just an opinion that I have.
Yeah, no matter what you say, whether true or false, it is merely echoes in the void saying things, whether true or not. Same thing whether you are anyone at all.
Oh,
So again, I'm now going back to the question that we're actually talking about. If you agree, which you did, that we are merely puppets on strings, how is anything about that free?
because I
If you
reject.
like a puppet on a string, a puppet like an actual like string puppet, if you say that's free, I have no idea how to further this debate.
I mean, like, I mean, I could give you the argument against incompatibilism if you want, because it
If it's
seems
the same one as before, we already rebutted it together and you agreed with me.
no. So this one is just like against incompatibilism. So essentially, this is the syllogism, but like essentially, it's the idea that like logically speaking, because you did like mention logic earlier. So logically speaking, um, like essentially this argument says that we would be able to, we can act in such a way that the past would be different, right? And
If you have a
essentially,
time travel machine, why not? If I can send you back in time, wipe your memories, why not? In theory, there's no problem with this.
no, like
There's
not
no
with a time,
logical issue with me yeeting you back in time.
yeah, but like without the time
Battery
machine,
60%.
like we
So you're
can.
now just not using logic?
No, I'm saying that like even if I accept determinism, I could still act in such a way that if I acted, I could change the past, and therefore I could, you know, have free will.
Then you're literally saying, if I had determinism, I could not have determinism.
Not necessarily.
That's exactly what you just said. If I have determinism, go back and act differently, I cannot have determinism, which undermines your first statement.
No, so you're just presupposing hard determinism again.
No, I'm just saying what you said twice.
No, I'm saying that.
If you can act freely, it isn't determined.
No.
By
That
definition,
like
yeah.
no, you can act freely and be you can act freely and be determined.
Make that argument.
So
I've asked
so
you that for the past hour or so. And if
yeah.
we're going to go back to saying we're a puppet on a string, then I am sorry, but I'm going to say that the debate is kind of over there.
I mean, like again, like this is just me. Like my position is compatibilism.
Yeah, you
So
can say that, and I can say my position is being an angel of wings. That doesn't mean I can fly out the window.
no. But the point of my so you're saying that if I just make an argument again that says that we're just a puppet on a string, then we're done. But like I have to because of my compatibilism. I have to show that determinism is compatible with free will.
So again, if you look at the GIF I sent inside chat, does the puppet right there have free will?
No.
But that's what you agreed to.
It's fictional.
It doesn't matter at all.
I mean, I guess like if you want to end the debate here, because I'm just gonna like essentially make the puppet argument
Saying
again.
I believe in free will isn't an argument. Okay, Versa Sheikh Shupa, or whatever the fuck your name is, at the point of the image, it ain't a fucking moving thing yet. That's before magic, not after magic. Fuck's sake. Look at the movie, mister. You haven't seen the movie.
But I mean, I guess there's nothing else to debate. I mean, I'm just gonna like defend compatibilism, I guess. So.
But you can't say I'm defending compatibilism and say, well, people agree with me, and then pretend that's an argument.
No, like that's not my only argument.
If people agree with you, you have to say why they agree with you and provide the argument.
Well, not necessarily. I could just say that they're an expert. Therefore, if they agree with me, they're most probably right about that.
No.
Yes.
No, because people were wrong about the Earth being flat.
But okay, so like,
it's not an actual sound argument.
Just to be clear,
and I don't care if they are likely correct. I care if they are actually correct.
But so just to be clear, like a justification for a belief doesn't mean that the belief is correct, right? It doesn't have to be correct. It just means that.
And I reject any and all justifications that have all people said or people think. If you evoke any of those two sentences ever, I reject the premise. Unless the premise is people think this, then yes, I accept people think this.
So, like, could I reject your argument because you think it?
No, I didn't say I think. As I said, I reject.
Wait, just to be clear, you say that like you reject anything people think, right?
If your argument hinges on, let's say, blue is the best color because this proportion of people think so, and they are color specialists, I will reject that because I don't give a fuck what people think. I care about what's actually true. And you're here
But
to
if
defend a position that is an affirmative, which means you have to actually provide an argument,
all right,
not just people agree with me. You have to provide, if people agree with you, you have to say why they agree with you. They don't agree with you because they're experts, they agree with you because they're reason. Provide the reason.
I mean, I could provide
If
you
you
my
don't know the reason, then I don't know why you're debating.
so I could provide you my reasoning. Like, so the argument is just against incompatibilism. The first premise is just that like uh we're just gonna assume that like determinism is true. We're gonna say that like the past and the laws determine I do action A, right? That's the first premise. You shouldn't really have a problem with that because it's just assuming that your position is true. Um Now the second
Then you
premise
don't need to
refers
make the rest.
you see, you're presupposing your position. You're saying that
No, you already made my position in this
no,
case.
no. So
If you
just
can only choose A, you can only choose A. Well, debate over.
oh my god, like you're presupposing hard determinism.
That's what you
So what you
said. Don't say
no
stupid shit then.
no, so like you're saying that because we're determined, then no free will, right? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that either. I never claimed whether we are or aren't determined. I said we have no free will because of the argument I laid out before.
Okay, wait. So let me just make it. Let me just correct what I said. So you're saying if we are determined, we have no free will, right?
Whether sure. I'm
Right.
not
So
gonna
so
go over
that
my
that
entire argument again, but sure.
right. So that that presupposes hard determinism. That premise presupposes hard determinism.
No.
So when you say that my first premise is wrong, because I'm saying I'm essentially assuming if because of your premise, which is saying that if determinism is the case, then we don't have free will, then you're just presupposing hard determinism.
If you cannot have a single distinguishing factor where you can have everything be determined, and you're forced to choose A, and then still somehow say, but it's free, then you just saying things.
How?
Again, the puppet on the string isn't free.
I mean, it's not. It's like so. It's not free, dependent on if its choices are being um if its choices are just if the puppet master is just going against his choices. I mean, you
You're
like you
presupposing he even can choose.
that doesn't matter because like free will is based on choices. So if
That
I can't choose
presupposes
what I choose,
choice. You can't presuppose free will in a debate about free will, which I never once did.
so if I
You can't mention choice in a debate about whether or not you have it unless it's part of your conclusion. Such as A, blah, 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 B, blah, 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 therefore we have choice.
no, so the conclusion would be we have free choice, right? But free choice and choice are two different things. I could say that we have choice even though we're determined. But like the debate is whether or not we have free choice regardless of if we're determined or not. And I'm saying
No, if a choice absent freedom isn't choice, just cause and effect.
it, so
Just like if I drop my pen and it falls, the pen didn't choose to fall. That's dumb.
so so like you don't hold any distinction between free choice and choice.
No, none.
That's weird.
Because there isn't a cogent one you could make, and I challenge you to make one.
So like you don't think that like our choices are determined?
Repeat that.
Do you think our choices are determined?
I laid out my position before.
I mean, you said that you said that we either do an action because we have a reason to, or we don't have
I didn't say that
reasons.
either.
You said I'm paraphrasing right now. You said something along those lines, right? I know I'm
I
familiar with
said
that.
any action you take is either determined or not determined.
Any action. Okay.
Do you
But you said
reject
that
the true dichotomy?
I agree with that. But what was your second
Okay.
premise?
What? Say it again?
What was your second premise?
By second. Okay. Suggestion. Take notes. Secondly, P must either be true or false. It can't be both, can't be neither. Agree?
Agree.
If it is not determined by anything, aka it occurs without cause, therefore it would be, by definition, random. Right? Complete undeterminism is identical to randomness, right?
Yes, sir.
So by randomness is by definition absence of control. You don't have that which is truly random, you don't control. On the other hand, if the action or mental event is determined, then we ask determined by what? Either determined by something external to you or something internal within your mind or body. Do we agree so far?
Sure.
If it is determined by something external to you, then it is quite obvious that you're not in ultimate control of it because, well, it's external. Right?
So that part I disagree with. But
So
yeah,
you think
that
that you have control of shit that's external to you?
yeah, to some degree, yeah.
Make that case.
Like to like okay, so if like we could say that uh I have a degrees of free will,
You
like
have a what?
degrees of free will. So like for example, let's say
You
that
can't
there are two.
presuppose free will in this.
And I'm making my case for free will, right? So I'm just gonna make a thought experiment, right? So let's say that there are two people, right? Um, uh, there are two people. The first
Mhm.
person we will call him person A. That person is uh being like he has a gun to his head, right? He has a gun to his head, and he's being forced
Mhm.
to uh uh eat spinach. And then person B, he's also he's eaten spinach, but he's not forced to do so by another person, right? Now they're both determined, but one is freer than the other. Would you agree? Like
No.
they're both determined by the laws of nature. You wouldn't agree that like the person who's just eating spinach and the
No,
person
because
who
now
was
you're because in this case you're just presupposing that the guy forcing him has free will instead.
well, no. So even if he
Because
doesn't have free will,
in the deterministic worldview, which you posited earlier, both of these things are exactly determined in doing exactly what happens. The first guy sitting there with a gun to his head, being forced to eat spinach, and the other guy eating it willingly, both of them eating spinach, that's simply just the outcome. But that the outcome of an event has no bearing at all on whether or not the action is free.
well, so again, I'm just making a case for degrees of freedom, right? So
And
I'm not making a
I disagree that either of these are different unless you're already presupposing free will.
well, you wouldn't. Okay, so you wouldn't intuitively say that the
No.
person who's eating spinach without being forced has
Nope.
more freedom than the person
Nope.
who is determined by the laws of nature, plus being held at gunpoint by another person.
No, because if both are determined by laws of nature, just like the guy holding the gun to his head is also determined by the laws of nature, according to you, neither guy A with the gun to his head, or B eating spinach, or C the guy holding the gun, all of them are determined under your rule set.
But okay, well, let's just put it like that. You would say that the person A is determined by more things, right?
Say it again.
You would agree with person A being determined by more things, right?
There's a lot of different circumstances that play into whatever outcome happens.
Yeah, but like that's not the question. I'm asking if person A would be determined by more things, like you would agree.
No.
So him being determined by the laws of nature plus being held accompanied by another person isn't more things than the person A who's just being determined by the laws of
No.
nature by itself.
Because all of them are simply just prior circumstance. You don't need
Yes,
to you don't need to overcomplicate everything.
no, like so we're arguing whether or not we can have degrees of determination, right? I'm arguing that like clearly, obviously, person A is determined by more things, forced by more things to eat spinach than person B, and it just seems obvious.
Okay, so let's dumb this down way further. So there's a lot of ways to get to 100, right? So you could do 10 times 10, you could do 95 times 5 times 0 point whatever the fuck, or 1 point whatever. Or you could do 99 plus 1, or you could do 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, all the way up to 100. The 1 plus 1 plus 1 has more numbers. They all end in 100 and they're all determined to end up at 100. There is no difference to how you're saying this. It doesn't change anything.
I'm sorry, what?
So you saying that there are more integers, effectively, is entirely irrelevant. Because if I add 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, etc., I eventually get to 100. If I add 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, I eventually get to 100. But there is more ones than there is tens. Is therefore 1 plus 1 plus 1 more affected than the 10 plus 10? No.
Oh yeah, so absolutely. So yeah, I'm saying that like, yeah. So nonetheless, they're still determined, right? They're like both. I agree with that. They're still determined, but I'm saying that there's
Did you hear
clear.
the example and the distinction I made?
Yes, yes. So you're saying that like
Can you
the
explain to me the difference I made?
so you're saying that like like there's two two events, right? And
Mm-hmm.
someone who's counting by tens and someone who's counting by ones, and both are counting to get to 100, right? But
I never
you're
said
saying that
counting, but sure.
well, it's a
I never
paraphrase.
mentioned people either, but yeah.
I'm paraphrasing you. So you're saying that
Okay.
like uh right. So you're saying that like nonetheless, even if one is uh counts more times than the one who's counting by tens, it would still be the case that at the end of the day they're going to just be at 100, right? Is that what you're saying? Something along those lines.
That's the end sentence, but that's not the point. The point is that no matter how many different things you add, like 100 ones or 10 tens, one is clearly more complex than the other. It doesn't change anything. They're exactly the same.
They're exactly the same. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Okay, so yeah, sure. They're
Same
exactly the
thing
same.
as the example with the gun to his head. If both events are determined, it doesn't matter why they're determined.
Uh, sure.
Like, even if we presuppose God, let's say, God is the only free being, hypothetically. If he said tomorrow you will eat spinach, then this is simply the case. Fuck all the prior events. This is simply the case now.
But you would say that like at least person A is closer to free will than person B, right?
No. Just like person counting ones or person counting tens, they're both the same from 100.
Yeah, but okay, so like if person A is starting from one and person B is counting from tens, then you would say that like the person who's going to be counting from tens is closer to 100 than like
No,
if they're
because they both
counting at the
start
same
at
pace.
0.
But like if they count at the same pace, right? Um,
Yeah,
and
it'll
then
take longer for one, but they'll still do the same thing. It doesn't change anything. It's still the same deterministic example.
I mean I mean, I guess
Like if you wear 100 pair of underwears, that ain't gonna like change the fact that you are in fact wearing underwears. You have very much complicated underwear routines, but you're still wearing underwears.
yeah. So you're like making a distinction between qualitative and quantitative, right? So yeah,
You said the
categorically,
same thing twice.
I said quantitative and qualitative, right? But like
Now you
yeah,
did.
so oh my god, so now yeah, sure, I would be no matter how much underwears I wear, it would still be the case that all of those things in which I'm wearing is going to fit into the category of underwear, right? But there's degrees of underwears, right? There's degrees of uh the underwears that I'm wearing, right? And I'm making
Yeah,
a
you could be
quantitative case.
wearing a G-string. That doesn't really change whether or not it's free. You could have been determined to wear a G-string by prior events,
Yeah,
whether or
but
not the prior event happens to be a guy with a gun to your head.
I'm making a quantitative case for free will, not a qualitative one, right? So I'm saying that there are
You're
degrees of
welcome,
free
Hannah.
will.
Say it again.
But anyway, I gotta go in a sec, so we could just wrap this up. So like I mean, I guess we would just have to agree to disagree. Because like intuitively it does feel to me that person B is closer to free will than person A.
Again,
But
I
like
don't care about your feelings.
I'm
Your
saying
feelings ain't an argument. Intuition is also not an argument.
but like all right, sure. Sure.
This is an appeal to emotion, but instead of making a moral claim, you're making a this feels better claim, which is effectively the same. Just
Sure,
because you like silk socks doesn't mean silk socks are better than wool socks.
but you do realize that if we always made arguments for everything, we're just gonna regress infinitely. So I like you would have to
So,
terminate
so
us.
what? What's
I'm
the
saying
point?
that we
Even if
cannot.
you regress infinitely, what's the problem?
I'm saying that it's impossible to make an argument for everything. So we'd have to terminate at a point where we could both agree.
No, why?
Can you reset infinite things?
Say it again.
Can you process infinite things?
Why would you need to?
Because in order to make an argument, right? So you'd have to justify the premises of the argument. You have to justify the premises of that second argument, and then it would have to
No.
regress infinitely.
No, so you can get to a common agreement of something. For example, if I'm holding up a football and I show you, and we both agree this is in fact a football, then neither of us need to know who the fuck made the football or where or what country. We all
Right,
both
right,
know
right,
this is a football.
right. So this is called
This has nothing to do with intuition. It's just about sloppy, arbitrary agreements.
right. So this is like a common sense, right? So I'm saying that like my position is commonsensical, right? It's a kind of intuition.
No.
Yes.
You're saying because we feel that it's true, and that's not an argument. Especially when you're arguing with someone who disagrees with you. For example, if I show my friend something that I think is a football and he say, nah, that's a fucking golf ball, then now we have to converse about this. Saying that I think it's a football and I think it's a golf ball ain't an argument. Well, the golfer over there agrees with me it's a golf ball. Well, that footballer over there agrees with me it's not. So what?
Oh my god.
Make an actual argument.
Right. Anyways, we could just conclude. I gotta go anyways.
Are you
I
here,
mean,
Daniel?
I've already presented all my arguments, so we could just conclude.
Okay. In that
Closing
case, if you
statement,
guys, if you guys want to make like a closing statement, you can do it now. Since Andrew began first, I think it's up to you now to begin first, Upogu.
What is a closing statement? What did I say?
Whatever.
you finish up your statement.
Yeah.
Like you conclude like, we have debated this, and if you want, I can go first. It's entirely up to you. I don't care.
I guess I would say that like I've presented two arguments. One that like I said that uh compatibilism is the consensus of philosophy, which by itself would be a kind of justification for my position, right? Because obviously most experts would know more about the field than laymen, and Opogu seemed to agree with me there. So he agreed with all the premises, but it seems like he didn't agree with the conclusion, right? But nonetheless, I presented my second argument, and I think that argument showed that compatibilism is uh, intuitively like it's founded on intuitive premises, and that's it.
My turn.
Yep, I guess if it's over.
Throughout this debate, we have returned to one simple and unavoidable question. Is any human thought or action truly free, or is it a product of prior causes? If it isn't determined, then it's random, and randomness is not control. If it is determined, then it follows that from causes that precede us or and extend beyond us, there is no middle ground. Law of logic just does not permit it. We both agree to this. My opponent appeals to authority, suggesting that because experts of philosophy claim that free will exists, we are justified in accepting it. But appealing that expertise does not replace argument. If those same experts also accept that we are, in their own words, puppet on strings of causation, in your case, then the claim of freedom collapses under its own contradiction. To admit that all events, including our thoughts, choices, are determined, while still asserting that we are free is to redefine freedom until it becomes meaningless, aka calling us puppets on strings. Free will is not rescued by feelings, authority, redefinition. A determined act is not free because it feels voluntary. A random act is not free because it is uncaused. Either way, your control never enters the picture. Everything we do, think, or decide is part of a continuous causal chain reaching back and before our birth, recognizing that fact is not fatalism, it is intellectual honesty. It is acceptance that we are shaped, not self-created. So, under laws of logic, the structure of causation, and even by the very definition offered by my opponent, who claim expertise, the conclusion stands unbroken. Free will cannot exist, and we are clearly all just puppets on strings.
Okie dokie. That's it for today, folks. Thank you very much, guys, for being here and debating this, and to the audience for also listening to you guys. If you guys want to make like an after show, you can do that. But Andrew, you said you have to leave, right?
Yeah. I mean, thank you for having me. And I really enjoyed this debate. Sure. We could close it.
Yeah, that's it. Then thank you very much, guys, and yeah, take it over from here in the after show if you want to, Upogu.
I would like that. Also, before we go though, the only script I have is my opening statement, and throughout the debate, I wrote my closing statement, which is what you should be doing.
Yep, that is true. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna close this for everybody. Take care, guys. See you later.